Good afternoon, my dear student.
Good
Once
afternoon,
again,
everyone.
we'd like to welcome you in this particular session of Cost and Management Accounting. Today, we will be taking the second session in continuation of the last session we took on Friday. There was a gap on a Monday, that is yesterday. And now, once again, myself, Dr. N. Sen Gupta, and my colleague,
CA Preeti Sharma.
we are here with you to continue the session. And we have discussed after the first class, and we have taken your feedback into stride, and then we have made certain changes in the way we will be taking the class today. So based on your request, we have first we'll be taking the last three chapters, that is standard costing, marginal costing, and budgetary control. And then we'll be continuing with the other chapter. As far as the numerical is concerned, we'll be discussing a numerical of a few chapters. First of all, we'll be discussing about marginal costing. Then we'll be discussing about budgetary control. We'll be discussing about joint product by product. We'll be discussing a question of contract costing, particularly related to escalation clauses. I think there was a request of escalation clauses questions from you people. And though we could not take any question of process costing as such, but joint product by product will be including in our session. Then the question, one of the very favorite question, many feedback we have got, that is of activity-based costing question. So long question, and many people probably have uh, got a little bit of problem in that particular question in understanding. So we thought of taking over that particular question in the class itself. So we'll try to cover as much as possible. And already I can see that some of the student has joined. Satya Lakshmi Sai Kumar, then Sandeep, and I hope that all other people who are watching at present, they all say hello to us so that we can understand that how many students are there and who are the students who are active. Throughout this presentation, throughout this class, whatever the question is there in your mind, you may kindly ask the question so that we can give the reply. We have thought of in this way that in the initial part, I will be taking the last few chapters, and then the contract costing, and then my colleague CA Preeti will be taking over and will be covering the balance of the chapter. Certain small parts of few of the other chapter also I'll try to cover, and then activity based costing, then joint product by product, and all these chapters will be covered by Preeti Sharma. So that yes, I can see that many of the student has already started joining, and hello to all of you, and hope that your study is doing well. You are doing well, and whatever the query coming into your mind, please don't hesitate to ask. We'll try to answer all your queries, and if you have any query to begin with, you can send your query right now. Otherwise, we'll start the session, and in between, I'll just check before leaving this particular class. I'll be just checking if you have any queries at that point of time, then we'll try to cover that. Right? So at present, there is no specific query which has come, and let us start the class, I think. So this initial point of discussion already we have done, and so there is no point of discussing what it once again. So we'll be starting with standard costing first of all. So at present, I'll be covering this particular part. So we are making little bit of a space adjustment. So very clear in your mind, you should have that what is standard costing. So, and what basically does the standard costing help us? We set certain standard for our cost, like material, for labor, for overhead and all, and then we compare them with actual. So comparing the budgeted cost along with the actual cost is basically how we calculate the variance. So variance, yes, cost process costing, we have not included any question as such, Anmol. But if you have any specific query of process costing, you can send to us. by email also, so that we can, and definitely if we found any opportunity to cover process costing, then we'll take up that question. But we'll try to cover the basic conceptual part of process costing too. Total variance, if you can see, the total variance can be divided into three parts. First part is going to be the material cost variance, the material labor variance, and the overhead cost variance. So first in your mind, you should take material cost variance and labor cost variance almost in the identical way. Material cost variance can be further divided into two type of variance. One is price variance and one is usage variance. So this is because of the changes in the price, and this is because of the changes in the usage. So for an example, we thought that 20 rupees per kg is the material and 25 is the actual one. So there is a difference, and because of that difference, basically the price variance will come. Similarly, we thought that maybe 1000 kg will be required as far as quantity is concerned, and let's say 98 kg was actually used. So there is a difference between the two of the quantity also. So because of that, if you are using more than two material, then the mix variance and yield variance also can come. Similar to the material cost variance, you can have labor cost variance also. Labor cost variance, like price variance, there will be rate variance. Similarly, there will be rate variance and there will be efficiency variance like usage variance. There is only one difference, that is idle time. Idle time again can be of two type. One can be the normal idle time and one can be the abnormal idle time. But in case of standard costing, we calculate only one type of variance, that is the idle time variance, the time in which there was no work which is done. Efficiency variance again will be divided into two ways, like it was done in material cost variance, that is mixed variance and yield variance. Here the name will be same, mixed variance and yield variance. And then further, overhead cost variance. Overhead cost variance is further divided into two parts. One is variable cost variance, variable overhead variance, and another is fixed overhead variance. Variable overhead variance further can be divided into expenditure and efficiency, and fixed overhead variance can be based on different things like volume, efficiency, capacity, and calendar. So what I'll request you on this particular concept, standard costing, you can see that we have given each and every concept as well as how it is calculated. While doing the question, first of all, try to understand what figure is given and what figure actually you require. Formula you all will be knowing it, but how to apply those formula, what is the logic behind it, why we are calculating it, these are the some of the things which you need to know. These are the formula which is taken directly from the study material. We are not going to the individual formula. Now, what are the areas in which you need to concentrate? Number one, practice as many questions as possible. Whatever the number of question which is given in the study material, please practice all the questions. Then the back exercise, and then old practice manual questions, then RTP question, MTP question, and the mock test paper question, previous year question. When you will be calculating the variance figure, try to understand what are the figure which is given and what are the figures you need to calculate. Sometime when we are, let's say, calculating the revised budgeted time or revised budgeted quantity, so accordingly what you need to do, please have a look at that and please practice those kind of questions. Missing figure question is also included in the study material, and very recently we have seen those kind of questions are also coming which require more conceptual clarity. So please practice those kind of question also. What the student lack in this particular chapter is the conceptual clarity. So first, I think I have given the brief of everything on particular PowerPoint presentation which is there in the study material. Conceptually go through and practice as many questions as possible. Merely memorizing the formula may not be able to help you. Only if your logic is clear, if you know exactly what is the requirement, what exactly you have to calculate, then only you will be able to solve the numerical problem. Since the time is not that much, so we have just given some of the hint. Yes, Neha, welcome and good afternoon to you as well. Now, the second most popular and most demanded topic was the marginal costing question. Marginal costing will be considering and will be discussing one particular question in the class itself. But what is the concept of marginal costing? What you should be reminding in your mind? This is basically the marginal cost equation. If you write down the marginal cost equation here, sales minus variable cost, that is contribution, minus fixed cost, that is profit. If fixed cost is more, then it can be loss also. So profit oblique loss. Now, whenever you will be doing any question of, this is basically the statement what I have just written in short. So whenever you will be doing any question of marginal costing, please keep in mind that marginal cost equation will be fulfilled. So sales minus variable cost will be contribution. Contribution minus fixed cost is going to be profit. So contribution is the kingpin. Contribution is the most important factor of marginal costing. How you can calculate the marginal cost, this contribution, sales minus variable cost you can calculate, and if you add profit with fixed cost, then also you can calculate the contribution. From contribution you can calculate sales also, from contribution you can calculate profit also. So contribution is one of the very important part of the marginal costing. Cost, I told you, there are three type of cost based on which this concept is developed. One, variable cost. Last day also I shown it to you. Variable cost will be like this, which will be increasing as and when the unit will increase. Then there will be fixed cost which will go parallelly. There will be no change in that. And if there is a mixture of that, then it will be known as total cost. So total cost line will be like this. And if your total sales graph goes like this, and then your total sales, let's say, so this will be total cost and this is total sales, and let's say total cost will be like this. So this is total cost and this is total sales. Now what will happen this point when the total cost is equal to, why it is starting from here? Anybody? Why the total cost graph does not start from zero? Can anybody answer? What is the reason? Your concept will be tested very quickly. Why the total cost graph does not? Significance of contribution is the most important thing, because contribution means what? How much excess of sales you have over variable cost. Because in marginal costing, in variable costing, we are assuming that fixed costs remain fixed. So any increase in contribution means directly profit will be increased. So most important part in marginal costing is contribution. Are you getting my point? Is it clear? Yes, because of fixed cost. Miss Anmol Kumari, very good. Because of fixed cost, since fixed cost cannot be zero, so your variable cost, your total cost cannot be starting from zero. So because of that, your total cost graph will be starting from here. So now what is this point? What is this point? This point will be known as, if I draw it in a fresh way, this is your cost graph and this is your sales graph. So this point is basically known as break even point, because total cost is equal to total sales. So break even point means no profit and no loss. Very good answer given by Sandeep, Roshni, and then Dhalakshmi. I'm unable to pronounce the name. SRO 725330 is the registration. I am unable to pronounce your name, beta. So this is basically known as the break-even point, right? Where there is no profit and no loss. Break-even point can be in unit. Break-even point can be in unit, like here, and it can be in amount. So break-even point can be expressed in both the way. Now there is one angle you can see. You can see one angle between the total cost curve and total sales curve. So this particular angle is known as angle of incidence. more the angle of incidence, greater is the degree of an angle of incidence, 45, 60, 90, etc. Very quickly you will be reaching to the break even point. And again, angle of incidence will depend on your contribution. So now coming to the next part, I think conceptually it is clear to you. Then in this marginal cost equation, there is one important ratio based on which the contribution is calculated, known as PV ratio, profit volume ratio. PV ratio, how PV ratio is calculated? Contribution by sales into 100. Why it is known as PV ratio then? Because this contribution is nothing but the profit. 10 rupee increase in contribution means your profit is increased by 10. So that's why it is known as PV ratio, profit volume ratio. So you have understood contribution, you have understood PV ratio, you have understood break even point. How break even point will be calculated? When there is no profit, no loss. When there will be no profit, no loss? When contribution is equal to fixed cost. How we can calculate? Fixed cost by contribution. Fixed cost by contribution. So fixed cost by contribution per unit. This is how you can calculate break even point in unit. If you want to calculate the in rupees, multiply it by S. If you multiply it by S, then what will happen? F by C by S mathematically. And C by S means what? PV ratio. So if you want to calculate in amount, it will be fixed cost by PV ratio. Have you understood? So all the formula, fixed cost divided by PV ratio, very good. I am trying to spell your name. No, sorry, could not crack it. It's a very long one, but very, very nicely answered by you. Now carrying on, these are the basic formula. Now, once you have understood the logic, maybe you can scribble the formula. So sales minus variable cost is equal to contribution is equal to fixed cost plus profit and loss. Then another very important part is that break even point can be calculated in rupees and also can be calculated in unit. Please keep that in mind always. Then there is a concept known as margin of safety. Margin of safety is the area which is above the break even point. So what example I can take for break even point? Let's say you are in an airlines, and when you will be starting with the airlines, the pilot will be announcing that we'll be taking off by this time and we'll be going to 35,000 feet in an, and all those instructions, security instruction will be given. Then when the flight takes off, it goes to a particular height and they will be asking you to remove the seat belt. Am I correct or not? So removing the seat belt is basically at that point of time where it is not required. That means we have reached to break even point. Above break even point, let's say 15,000 feet, we have reached to the point where seat belt is not required. Above that, maybe the pilot will be taking you to 35,000, 38,000, 30,000 feet. That part is basically known as margin of safety, where there is no problem until unless there is some other turbulence, because you are above the cloud. So as such, there will be no cloud issue and all. So there will be no belt zone basically. In marginal costing, that will be known as margin of safety. How we can calculate? Sales minus break even sales or profit by PV ratio. So logically, you try to understand all these particular formulas. These are the various formulas, uh, all derived from there only, all derived whatever the discussion we have, but we have systematically placed for your benefit. If you want to take a photograph of it, you can take a photograph, but everything is included in the study material. So we are not saying, because a lot of people was demanding last day to give the PowerPoint presentation. It's all from the study material, your study material, which is published by Board of Studies of ICAI. Now we'll be taking one question, very basic question, but I hope that we'll be able to clear the concept. Mind you, nowadays, some of the multiple break-even point question, contribution question, little bit of key factor question, so slight decision making questions, short decision making question also coming in marginal costing. Margin of safety, yes, Anushka, absolutely correct. Sandeep, yes, I think you have understood it. Rajinder, you are correct. So all of you have understood this particular concept. Now, can you start solving this particular question? Fixed cost is given, variable cost is given, selling price is given. What I told you, how you will be solving it? Whenever you are approaching to any of the marginal costing question, your first sales minus variable cost, contribution, fixed cost and profit. This may not be required, all may not be required. So what is your selling price per unit? 30. Up to contribution you can go per unit, there is no problem. Then what is the variable cost? It is 15. So what is the contribution? Contribution is 15. So what is your total contribution? 15 into okay, fine. It is not required because break even point we need to calculate. So how will we be calculating the break even point? Fixed cost by contribution per unit. So what is the fixed cost? 1,50,000 is the fixed cost and 15 is your contribution per unit. So in unit, break even point is going to be 10,000 unit. Now can you tell me what it will be in rupees? Either you multiply it by the selling price, that is 30, or you can do one thing, you can calculate PV ratio first. Always better to calculate PV ratio. So PV ratio will be 15 by 30 into 100, that is 50%. So either you multiply it by 30 or straightway 1,50,000 divided by 50%. So that will be your break even point in amount. Yeah, so break even point in amount also you can calculate, though here it is said break even point. So you can calculate both in unit as well as in rupees. Please in the examination try to see that what is the requirement of that question. Are they asking only unit or they are asking both or they are asking only amount, and accordingly you calculate. Because it will take extra 1 or 2 minutes if one is required and you have calculated both. Right. Now sales to earn a profit of rupees 20,000. If sales is given, you may require to calculate profit. If profit is given, you may require to calculate the sales. Here, first example, what has been given here, your profit is given here. What is your profit? What is your profit? 20,000. What will be your contribution? I told you contribution is the kingpin. By somehow, if you can reach to contribution, somehow if you can reach to contribution, you can go anywhere. You can jump to sales, you can come down to profit. So our objective always will be try to find out the contribution. So profit is 20,000. How much is your fixed cost? 1,50,000. So what is your contribution? Your contribution will be 1,70,000. So 1,70,000 addition of these two will be your contribution. Now from contribution, if you want to go to sales, C is given to you. You want to calculate S. How you can do it? Divide it by CS. C into S by C. That is S. And what is this CS means, beta? PV ratio. Very good. So this will be PV ratio. So how we can calculate sales to earn a profit of 20,000? That will be 1,70,000 divided by PV ratio. So accordingly, we can calculate the sales. Margin of safety also we can calculate. Here is the question. Let us see that how it has been done. Already we have seen this has been done. This 3,40,000 just now we have done. Here we have taken contribution per unit divided by into the selling price. You may not be doing it. You can see here how it is done. PV ratio. So straight away, if you divide it by PV ratio, you will get it. But if you want to calculate in this way, that is also fine. So try to calculate here in this sort of question, try to calculate your contribution and your PV ratio. Rest of the figures automatically will be there in your doorstep. Okay, like BOS is trying to reach to your doorstep. This marginal costing will reach to your doorstep. Once your concept is clear, you know exactly how the formulas has been derived. Harish, details of standard costing question, if you have any from the study material, you kindly send it to us. And Khushi, your calculation was not correct, beta, 11,334. I don't think it is correct. Obviously, by in unit it may be correct. So I don't know if we divide it by 30, probably it will come. 3,40,000. And what was the selling price? Absolutely correct. So unit 11,334 units. Students, please understand, if you want to calculate the unit, then you divide the contribution required by contribution per unit. Contribution by contribution per unit, a result will be in unit. Contribution by PV ratio, your result will be in amount or rupees. Theoretical questions also, particularly the difference between marginal costing and absorption costing. Question based on different formulas. Some of the missing figures may be given. Then sometimes the missing information may be there. Some of the information may not be given. For an example, we calculate sales from contribution by deduct. Here the variable cost is not required, Dhanalakshmi. From contribution, if you divide by PV ratio, you can jump to sales. From sales, if you multiply by PV ratio, contribution multiplied by PV ratio, sales multiplied by PV ratio, you can calculate to contribution. Contribution divided by PV ratio, that is C by L's, you can calculate S. Are you getting my point? So you can prepare a box and you can note down from contribution, if you want to calculate sales, divide by PV ratio. From sales, if you want to calculate contribution, you multiply it by PV ratio. Is it clear? No requirement of variable cost at all. Now carrying on, is it clear, Dhanlakshmi? Since we don't have a lot of time, but we'll try to cover many things. Now straight away we'll go to budget and budgetary control. Now budgetary control, mainly what you need to focus, these are the various concepts which are there, but what you need to mainly focus is flexible budget. Flexible budget, how we can calculate the flexible budget. Flexible budget again will be based on a particular concept that variable cost remain fixed and only cost which changes is the fixed cost. Based on that principle, you can even go for the questions of budgetary control. Straight away, I think we can go for discussing a particular question. Theoretical question, conceptual question also comes from marginal costing, advantage of marginal costing, difference between marginal and absorption, the significance of contribution, the significance of break-even point. All those questions may come in marginal costing. Theoretical question, otherwise numerical question also will come. These are the classification of budget. We are not going for that. This is the difference between fixed budget and flexible budget straight away from your study material. So we are not discussing that. These are the some of the budget ratios. Many people ignores it. They only practice the flexible budget question and they don't practice this kind of questions which is based on different ratio, efficiency ratio, activity ratio, calendar ratio, capacity ratio, usage ratio, and budgeted capacity ratio. So please go through this particular concept as well. Now let us take this particular question. May examination, yes, budget question was very good. We can't say whether it was difficult or it was easy. I think when the suggested answer will come, you probably will be able to check whether that was an easy question or a difficult question. Now, if you have any question from marginal or from standard, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll be going for a question of budgetary control. Any question? Fast. Okay. So I think let's start the question of budgeting. Present sales. So first you underline present sales. It is using only 60% of capacity. So 60% capacity is 6 lakh unit, means 100% capacity is 10 lakh units. Is it clear? Selling price is 100 per unit, variable cost is 30 per unit. So contribution, that means from marginal costing perspective, is 70. But we will be calculating variable cost separately and fixed cost separately. Semi-variable, in the semi-variable 60,000 is fixed and rupees 5 is your variable expenditure. From the fixed cost part, 1 lakh at present level, at present, estimated to very good type of question, and we have seen this type of question coming in the examination as well. Estimated to increase by 25% at and above 80%. So one is at present, that is of 6 lakh unit, and one is 8 lakh and above units. There will be an increase of 25%, that is on fixed cost. We need to calculate a flexible budget. So how we'll be calculating? First, you understand that what is the amount, what is the quantity which is required to be done. So 60%, 80% and 100%. The production unit will be 6 lakh divided by 100. So that is 6,000. At 80% it will be 8,000, and in 100% it will be 10,000. So exactly that has been given. Sales at the rate 100 per unit is given as 6 lakh, 8 lakh and 10 lakh. Variable cost, which is, there are two variable costs. One is 30 here and one is 5 here. So you can see that 30 plus 5 is the variable cost. So variable cost is 2 lakh 10 for 6,000 units. 6,000 into 35, 8,000 into 35 and 10,000 into 35. So variable cost graph, as I told you, will go like this. So sales minus variable cost, we have calculated contribution. You can see the contribution is maximum at 100%. Fixed cost, there are two kind of fixed cost. One is here. So first, let us reduce that fixed cost, which is equal. This is equal. Then there is a fixed cost where there is an increase. At present level, it is 1 lakh. You can see at present level, it is 1 lakh. When it touches 80% and above, so 80%, it will be 1 lakh 25,000, increase of 25%. Similarly, for 100% also, it will be 1 lakh 25,000. So total fixed cost will be 1 lakh 60, 1 lakh 85 and 1 lakh 85. So this is the total cost. Now contribution minus total fixed cost, contribution minus total fixed cost, contribution minus total fixed cost, that will be your profit. So this is basically how the questions of, we have seen very recently slab question, that there will be an increase in fixed cost for every 10%, for every 20%, and there may be some catch in the language itself. Now we'll go to the next one, job and contract costing. In job and contract costing, I think one which was requested is to calculate that how the questions of contract costing generally we need to calculate. Generally, the questions of contract costing where you need to prepare a contract account, you need to calculate the cost of work certified, cost of work uncertified, how to calculate the retention money, what is the cash received, then related to escalation clause. So we have taken a question exclusively on escalation clause. So this is particular question where there is standard and there is actual data related to material. Quantity is also different, and this is basically the rate. So what is the difference between the rate we need to understand? 50 minus 48, which is not within the control of the builder or the constructor who is doing it. 80 and 79, 60 and 66. So here it is minus 2, here it is minus 1, and here it is 6. Similarly, it is labor also, it is given 2, then there is no change and there is a change of 1. So first we have calculated that minus 2, that is related to material, minus 1 and plus 6. Now minus 2 multiplied by the quantity used, that is minus 10,000, minus 1 multiplied by 3500, that is minus 3500, then plus 6 multiplied by 2500, that is 15,000, and if you add and adjust, then 1500 is the escalation claim of the builder or the constructor in for particular item of material. For labor it will be 4000 and 3000, so total amount will be 7000, and final claim will be 8500. So how the pricing will be done? The agreed price which is given in the question is 17 lakh 50, and adjustment of coming together 8500. So final price available will be 17 lakh 58,500. So this is a question of contract costing. Very quickly we are trying to this type of question was asked in recent examination. Yes, Revati, you are correct. You are talking about budget. I am sure. Slab type of question has been asked, and I think there was some question where language was very critical. So understanding the language of this kind of question will be very critical. Anushka, I think it will be coming in next 10 days or so, as informed. We have finalized it, but as per the stipulated period of time, I think it will be there on the website, and you can see from there that where you have done your mistakes. Now taking on with some of the other chapters, cost accounting system, please be very particular about the questions of reconciliation of accounts between the financial accounting and cost accounting. So how those kind of question has to be dealt in, you should be knowing that how the reconciliation has to be done, what are the items which is included in financial accounting. You can make a chart of your own, like purely finance expenses, interest on bank loan or bank mortgage, expenses and discount on issue of share, debenture, other capital losses, losses on sales of fixed asset and investment, interest received on bank deposit, loans and investment, dividend received, points of the sale of fixed assets and investment, transfer fee received, rent receivable. Similarly, there are certain items in cost accounting like charges in lieu of rent, interest on capital, salary of the proprietor, which is basically the notional expenditure. So you need, when you are coming from costing to a financial accounting profit, you need to make the adjustment, and from financial accounting profit to cost accounting profit, again you need to make the adjustment. So these kind of questions are very important. Unit and batch costing, you know the difference between unit and batch also you go through. The difference between job costing and batch costing, and in case of batch costing there may be a question which is similar to economic order quantity. Here it will be economic batch quantity. Now, process and operating costing, as I told you, you need to understand normal process loss, abnormal process loss, and abnormal gain. Then equivalent production unit calculation, you please go through. It is very clearly mentioned in the study material, and there are two kind of valuation you should go through. One is valuation of WIP, that is in FIFO as well as in average profit, and then there is inter-process. There are few things which you need to keep in mind in case of uh, this process costing. How the calculation of equivalent unit can be done, how the calculation of equivalent unit can be done at different places under LIFO and under FIFO, mind you, and weighted average. In case of FIFO, the item will be first in and first out, so accordingly the equivalent production unit need to be calculated. In case of LIFO, it will be last in first out, so accordingly you need to make the calculation adjustment. Then preparation of process account, WIP account. Then preparation of process account, there may be 2 process, 3 process, etc. How the treatment of normal loss, and abnormal gain can be done. So those treatments are very, very important, that how that can be done. Calculation of inter-process profit. So one is transferring to other department. Let's say we are having a bottle manufacturing department. So this bottle, let's say, is manufactured by one company. I'm not showing the name of this particular company. So this is manufactured by one department. It is transferred, and some drink, maybe water or maybe some soft drink, has been poured into it. So two separate department is, let's say, producing it. Getting my point? So one department who is only manufacturing the bottle, then they are transferring to the other department. What is their profit? So they are charging some profit, and then they are transferring the product to the other department, which is known as inter-process profit. Sometimes the question based on process accounting require calculation of wastage also, and sometimes even the back calculation also is required. Okay, so in this kind of question where wastage is included, when you are transferring from one account to another account, we have seen very poor performance. We have seen that you people faltered in those kind of questions. So what I will suggest you, yes, logically, Pooja, you can learn those treatment as well. Okay, there are some more queries. I'll be just taking your all those queries after just finishing this last part of process accounting. So this kind of question, we have seen that the performance is so poor, where you are not able to calculate the wastage, and you are not able to calculate the equivalent unit, or you are not able to calculate the inter-process profit. So please have a good amount of practice in this kind of question, and in recent year we have seen that this kind of question has also come. Before going into the next chapter, journal entry you may not be learning, but logically if you go through once, you are, by the way, you are studying chartered accountancy course. It's not that you are studying anything else. So I think the concept of debit and credit must be very, very clear to you. Only thing you need to understand is that how easily and how quickly you can understand the logic behind that particular entry. So if you understand the logic, it will be very easy for you to go through that particular concept. Now, next question is cost accounting system. At present, we are unable to do, but if you have any question, obviously you can send across to us. Job is for a particular product. Let's say you are printing a book. Batch, for an example, when you are producing a batch of, let's say, biscuits, let's say medicines. So the basic nature of the costing is same. When you are producing at together in a bunch, in a batch, that is basically batch costing. Job is a particular assignment. Getting my point? Yes. Abnormal account, yes, abnormal account, obviously you have to prepare. And abnormal gain calculation also is a very tricky one in process account, which you may not be able to, until unless you calculate everything, suddenly you will find that there is a difference and you have gained which you have not expected, which is known as abnormal gain. Abnormal loss we are more accustomed with, but when there is a abnormal gain, that also you need to account for, otherwise your question will be wrong. WIP and finished goods, the questions I think you need to practice from the study material. You will be able to understand it. The calculation part, particularly, if conceptually, if you want to ask anything, you please let us know. Okay, you can send the questions either through the BoS app. I think you all can download that particular app and you can select the subject. And we are still operating one email ID. That is CMA dash inter @ICAI.in. But we'll prefer that you send the queries through app. And please send specific query. You don't tell us, okay, sir, please explain question number this and that. Okay, go through your that particular question. Please ask specific queries. We'll definitely coming back to you as early as possible. Contract costing, work certified, uncertified, you can practice from the study material. Any other question you have? Any other question? Not top language, but you need to understand the language in a better way. So until unless you go through the question again and again, you may not be able to understand the meaning of it. See, as a chartered accountant, also we need to understand the problem. It is not that somebody will come and tell us what is the problem, we will only give the solution. You need to understand the problem and then you need to give the solution. Got my point? So the language is very critical. The question which we will be discussing, activity based costing question, again the language is critical. Otherwise you all know activity based costing. Am I correct? No, Revati, I don't think I have spoken to you. I have spoken to you personally. I remember your name. And whenever there is a query, I speak to the people, speak to the student, myself and my colleague, and always we try to answer the question. Correct? And there is a specific date within which only we answer. So Revati, you please, we can still check your record. I can tell you that all the question, whatever has been asked, we have answered it. Yes, yes, ABC is time consuming. Calculation itself is time consuming. And assume that beyond that, above that, if the language is typical, then what is going to happen? And mind you, you are having 3 hours only in the examination. So calculation is lengthy, plus language is also understandable, not that much clear, or you need to understand it in a better way. Then you need to practice those kind of question again and again. Then only you will be able to answer those questions in the examination condition, in the examination hall. Thank you, Krishna. Krishna is saying he has got the reply within hours. Yes, no problem. I know Revati because I have personally spoken to you, and my colleague Preeti is always at your query. Today only, I think our query pending is zero. We have cleared all the queries, whatever was pending. No, when control account you need to prepare, you have to prepare the ledger. When the examiner will be asking to prepare the journal entry, you need to prepare the journal entry. Dhanlakshmi, sir, even after revising enough number of times, somehow I forget the keywords to present theory question. You write down, Dhanlakshmi, you write down your notebook and read that same notebook again and again. And believe me, in the examination hall, you will be able to see what word is written. Write down the theory part, let's say 3 page, 4 page for a particular chapter, and same page you revise again and again. Don't try to read it from many sources. Read the same sources, the image will be stored in your brain. That's science basically. So many time I think my colleagues sitting here will be agreeing. Many time when we are well prepared, we'll be able to see that particular line what is written in the study material sitting in the examination hall. At least I have seen it. So go through again and again and read the question, read that same notes again and again. That's the tips I can give it to you. But until unless you write it, you will never be able to recall the exact word or the important words. So writing is the solution for that. Writing and reading from the same material again and again, same place again and again. Any other question quickly? Okay, we'll be going for activity based costing question as I told you. Let me just see that if any other things. Joint product, byproduct, process we have covered. Process question we are not covering. Then we'll be covering service costing and various examination related issues. Any other queries you let me know. So we'll be changing over, and now the numerical question, various numerical questions of activity based costing, service costing will be discussed by my colleague. And so thank you very much for this particular session, first part of the session. And now we'll be continuing the second part without any break. And then there will be a break in between around 4 o'clock or so for 5 minutes or so. Please do stay with us. Don't the query which is asked by you people. May I request now my colleague CA Preeti Sharma to take over the proceedings and to start discussing the questions. Hello? Hello?
I hope sir has beautifully explained all the concept which you are eagerly waiting for. Like a quick revision. You have understood the concept relating to the standard. Yeah, standard costing you have gone through all the formulas. You need to first understand the concept, then only you can get the meaning of the formula while applying how to put the figures and how to find out the variances. Then sir has already covered the marginal costing. The base thing which you need to calculate are the break even units, or you may also need to require to calculate the break even sales figures. For that, first thing, important thing is the contribution per unit. When you need to calculate, then only you can apply that figure to a fixed cost and the contribution per unit. Then you will calculating the figures of break even sales or break even volume. Next sir has covered budgets. Yeah, all the concepts of contract. Sir has also covered a simple question. Here I would like to add one thing. Two figures have been provided here, standard and actual. In standard we have quantity and rate, and in actual also we have quantity and rate. Now in standard and in actual there are two differences in what? Quantity also and rate also. But while calculating the escalation claim, we have covered only rate figures. Why not quantity details? Why we have not taken the differences between the quantity? Because quantity is something which was under the control of contractor. Budget was prepared by the contractor, so he should have taken care what quantity would be required in future. But regarding rate, he has no control. That's why escalation claim is calculated on rate figures only, not the quantity figures. I hope this thing is clear. Yeah, good afternoon, Krishna. Yeah, cost accounting sir has covered unit batch. Yeah, these concepts cannot be just understood in a single class. You need to go through the, actually we are also having a live virtual classes or live coaching classes going on, and regarding this particular paper cost accounting, these classes have already been covered, so you may find out the recorded lectures. If you want to practice a particular chapter, particular questions, you can. I hope you already have the BoS app where you can register as per your registration number. Then you can log in and find all those recorded lectures and practice. Okay, and in case you have any query, you can always welcome to mail us, and then we will revert you through mail also. And you can also send us query against ask your query section, which is there in the BoS app. So you can send your queries through there also, and we will revert you. Yeah. Activity based costing. What is activity based costing? Okay, let's understand this thing first. As you can see here, there are two parts of cost. It can be direct, it can be indirect. What is direct? Direct is the cost which is directly related to a product. What it can be? It can be material, it can be labor, it can be any other expenses directly related to the product. Let's see, direct cost, it may be material, it can be labor. Okay, but what is indirect cost? It can be like machinery is used for production, so it can be depreciation of that machinery. Depreciation of machinery will definitely be a indirect cost. Any other cost which can be indirect? Yes, rent. where the production is happening, you are going to pay the rent. It is not directly related to a particular product, but it is used for production, for manufacturing. That area rent paid will be taken as indirect cost. Any other cost? Yeah, electricity. Definitely, this is indirect cost. But why are we discussing the difference of direct and indirect cost? Here comes the difference. In traditional costing, we used to allocate the indirect cost on a particular basis, maybe like number of units. Like for there are two kinds of products you are manufacturing, product A and product B. Product A is having 6,000 units, product B is having 4,000 units. In total, they are 10,000 units, and you are paying rent. Now, how will you allocate this? You may allocate on the number of production, number of units. Ratio would be 6 is to 4. The rent amount you would be allocating on the basis of number of units. But is this okay? Is this correct base of allocation? No. This is what activity based costing. Here, rent would be allocated on different means, different terms, different cost drives. Okay? This was the traditional costing where base could have been machine hour, volume. Volume means the quantity, labor hours for it, maybe indirect labors. But in traditional costing, no separate costs are allocated. It is accumulated, and then a single base is used for their allocation between different products. But in ABC, each and every cost which comes under cost pool are allocated between products based on their own cost drivers. I hope you are clear about the concept of ABC, why we do this. And this we can understood with the help of a question which we have given in the RTP, which is actually very much lengthy question, but we have provided this only for the practice purpose so that all the concepts are clear by one single question. So let's start. Before that, let's see if we have any queries. Mm. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Harish asking for what are the small chapters which can be quickly covered. First you need to understand the concepts first. Quickly covered, you can have like very simple chapters, small chapters, job, batch, unit. These are very small chapters and having a simple concept, so you can quickly cover these kind of chapters. But before going for these chapters, first you need to understand what are the material, labor, employee, cost sheet, everything. So that needs to be covered first. Thereafter you can go for the small chapters. Yeah, Dhanlakshmi, you are correct. In traditional costing, like you are solving in the overhead chapter, is actually the traditional costing, but that is not something actually followed by the companies. What companies actually follow are the ABC. The big companies like the cola companies, how they are allocating their cost to their different type of products. They are following ABC. But for small companies, it is okay. If you are following the overhead concept, that is also okay for a small company. But for a big company where their transactions and their volume are so much huge, they need to follow the ABC concept. Revati asking for please attach a voice note for query asked. It would be very helpful. That is not something into our hands, but your submission will be submitted to our technician team. Okay. Yeah, fine. Okay, let's start with the ABC question problem, which is something I think all are waiting for. Okay, I think it is better if you download or you are carrying yourself with the RTP of latest this November 22 examination. If you have the RTP with your hands right now, it would be better to solve this question then only. Otherwise, it is also fine, but if you have that, then it is better. Okay, let's start. Then only we will go for the queries. First, start this question. First, I'll just read. I'll try to tell you how to solve this kind of question. First, we will see what information we have. Then we will go line by line to find out the actual figures and what data they are giving. Okay. First, we can see here in the first slide we have. You can see. Okay, sales figure. Sorry. Yeah, sales figure, material cost, labor, overhead. Okay, all these information are given. Fine. Next information we have, there are certain expenses, labor, incentive. I hope these are mostly indirect expenses. Next information, okay, we will go through this later on. Any other information we have, quickly we can have. Yeah, sales volume we have, price, material. Okay, yeah, production run, setup time per run. I think these are kind of cost drive. Through this question, we will tell you what is actually cost drive. Okay, now we have all the information. We have cost drive. We have certain information. Okay, another information. Okay, now start. Because now I know what in future I'm going to have all the information, so I can start right now. The profit margin of baby clips company, okay, there is a company, were over 20% of sales. Profit margin were means this is the last, oh sorry, previous information, not current information. Were over 20% of sales, producing brown and black hair clips. Okay, there is a company producing two kind of clips. Were producing, or we can say were having the profit margin of over 20%. Okay, fine, it is a past information. Next, during the last year, again this is a past information. Green hair clips had been introduced at 10% premium. Okay, fine. In selling price. What selling price? Do we have right now this information? No. At present, we don't have that information in this slide. After the introduction of yellow hair clips. Okay, now there are 4 types of hair clips. Brown, black, green, yellow. It was yellow color hair clips were introduced 5 years back at 10 divided by 3% premium. Okay, this premium for this yellow clip was lower than the premium for green hair clips. However, the manager of the company is disheartened with the sales figure for the current financial year. Disheartened, obviously the sales figure was not up to his mark what he was expecting. Now what are the sales figure? Let's go through this. We have brown, black, yellow, green data. Sales, okay, 150 crore, 1 crore 50 lakh, 1 crore 20 lakh, 27 lakh. Oh my god, green color is having only 3 lakh 30,000 sales, which was actually selling on premium amount. Total figures is this. Now we have material cost, okay, direct labor, overhead. Here overhead, main information given here is the 3 times of direct labor. Means this into 3 we get 60 lakh. 16 lakh into 3 we get 40 lakh. These figures are multiplied by 3. So this information we have is already given. Now this you can say the concept of traditional costing. Now you will understand what was traditional costing. Here the allocation of overhead is done on the basis of 3 times of direct labor, which is actually traditional costing. Okay, fine. Total operating income. Yeah, okay, you deduct sales, you deduct material cost from sales, then direct labor, then overhead, you get the total operating income. Then you have the return on sales. Here you can see major difference. Return for brown color is 13.3%. Black also it is 13.3. For yellow it is 14.8%, and for green it is 18.2%. This is the highest. This is the highest return. Do you really think this highest return on sales is actually the major profit earning department or section of the company? No. Though it is having the highest return, but in actual the profit is 60,000 only. Got it? The major difference between the actual return and the return percentage. Now let's move on to the next slide. What information we are gathering? It is a known fact that customers are ready to pay premium, okay, fine, for yellow and green hair clips for their attractiveness, and the percentage returns are also high on the new products. Yeah, we got to know the information from the previous slide. This is already confirmed here. At present, indirect expenses are allocated to the products at 3 times of the direct labor expenses. Yeah, we got the information already from the previous slide. However, the manager is interested in allocating indirect expenses on the basis of what? Activity cost. To reveal the real earner, because the manager is already know that the green color is not the actual earner to the company. Though the return or the percentage is higher, but the actual return is not the higher, but in actual the least basically. Now, he is interested in allocating indirect expenses, but the information given under below is the support expenses. Please mind, there is a gap in the question here. What is the gap? He is interested in allocating indirect expenses. Obviously, indirect expenses will be allocated based on activity, but the information given here is not only indirect, but there may be some additional expenses. Don't get confused that these are all the indirect expenses. No. Indirect expense plus other expense, because these are support expenses. Now, what are the expenses we have here? Indirect labor. Yeah, okay. Labor incentive. Do get clear from this line whether this is for direct labor or indirect labor? No, nothing is clear. This is for both. Direct plus indirect. Hold on. You will get the clear information in next para, which will be affirming this particular difference. Now, okay, next information we have is the computer system. Okay, machine depreciation, maintenance, yeah, energies, these all are indirect, and this is already indirect. Sorry, this one. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. He provides following additional information. I hope students are already getting what I'm trying to teach here. I'm going so slow to teach you so that you can solve this question quickly in future. I hope this much is clear. I'm going slow because I want to solve this so fast in future. You solve it so fast in future. There are certain additional information. Incentive. Okay. What incentive? These incentive. These incentive to be allocated at the rate 40% of labor expenses. Look here, it is mentioned already. Both direct and indirect. So that information which I was talking about in previous slide is affirmed from this statement that These incentive includes direct and indirect labor. Now, indirect labors are involved mainly in 3 activities. Okay, fine. Let's write down one by one here. What are the expenses? Indirect labor, this much. What amount we had? 40 lakh. Plus incentive. Incentive 40%, 60 lakh. Total 56 lakh. This is the indirect expense, indirect labor. This is the total expense. Now, about half of indirect labor, half means obviously 50%. So 50% of this, which is 28 lakh. Okay, fine. We are actually dividing what the, we are actually writing down what the information is given here. About half of indirect labor is involved in handling production runs. What are production runs? Before starting this question in detail, I first went through actually what information we have already. So this production run detail we had in the last slide at the end of the question. So we will move on to that part. Production run. Yes, here we have the production run. Total 300. Okay. So we will divide 28 lakh by 300 production runs. 28 lakh divided by 300 production runs, we get 9,333.33 per production run data. Okay, per unit figure is this. We will use this later on while we are allocating the expenses to the separate products. Next, another 40% is required just for the physical changeover. Let's find out the 40%. 22 lakh 40,000 divided by. Now, what is physical changeover? Now you know company is manufacturing particular hair clips. Obviously, there may be some setups they have made where they are running the production. Do we have the information of production runs? Yes, we had already. Do we have the information regarding the setups? Let's see. Yeah, we have that information. Physical changeover means what time you are taking for changing from manufacturing one particular clip to the second clip. So there is time required in setting up. What time is required? Here it is given from, for example, while switching from brown hair clips to different hair clip, it takes 4 hours. But how many times it take? How many times your production is running? It is running 100 times. So in total, it is taking 400 hours for switching from one production to different production. This into this. It gives you 400. 400. This into this, it gives you 100. This into this, it gives you what? 456. And this into this, it gives you what? 96. So in total, 456 plus 500, it gives you 1052. There are 1052 numbers of setups. Hours. Setup hours. 1052, please remember. So we will put this figure over here divided by 1052 setup hours. 22 lakh 40,000 divided by 1052, we get 2129.28. Fine, this is per unit. Next, we have completed 50%, 40%, remaining is 10%. Let's see what is written for the 10% part. Another 40% is required just for the physical changeover. Okay, fine, from one color to another. Okay, fine. Remaining 10% of the time is spent for maintaining records of the products in 4 parts. Remaining 10%, what are those? 5.6 lakh divided by 4 parts. We have 4 products. We are maintaining their records separately. So it would be divided by 4. 5,60,000 divided by 4, we get 1,40,000 per production of product. I hope up to this much is clear. Please give a note if everything is clear, because I am going on and on. And if you are not clear, then it is of no use. Please give a thumbs up if you all are clear up to this portion. Ma'am, why can't we just take setup time for change over allocation? Yeah, I know student would get confused in this. Dhanlakshmi, it's okay. Let's see. We know the setup times. Yeah, fine. But it is per run. What information is we have, you need to stress on the information you have. This setup time is given is per run, and product is not shifting single time, it is shifting after every production. That's why we need to multiply this by the number of runs it has. Information, most important information here is per run. This setup time is per run. That's why we need to multiply this by the production runs. How many times the production run? If this information, this wordings were not written here, if it was not here, then we could have taken the it straightforwardly. But just because it is given per run, just because it is given per run, that's why we need to multiply by the production runs. I hope this is clear now. Okay. Yeah, understood. Revati, how physical changeover? I didn't understand the calculation. Revati, what we did was physical changeover is something means physical. What is the meaning of physical changeover? Physical changeover means you are manufacturing hair clips on a particular models you have. You have single modules, and on that you are manufacturing, or this is your production department. So obviously for one time you cannot, because they are having different colors, you cannot manufacture them simultaneously or together. You need to change the production line. You need to change that production line. So only after one lot of production you need to change it, clean the dye, then only you can shift to the different color. You need to fill the different colors. So it is changing. That is the meaning of physical changeover. So how many times it takes place? every production runs, it takes place. This is actually the production, how many times the production runs. But in every production running, it takes some hours for physical changeover. Just in case of brown color, 100 times it is producing, but for every time it is producing, it takes 4 hours for cleaning, changing the dye, changing the color, everything. It takes 4 hours. That's why we need to multiply this 100 into 4, means in total for this brown color, the company is taking, or the manager is taking 400 hours for changing or for setting up, for manufacturing this kind of color. One important thing I can tell you from the given data, as you can see, brown color, for brown color, the setup time given is 4 hours. Fine. For black color, it is given only 1 hour. Why that difference? Because for black color, there is no much cleaning is required. You can directly fill the black color and it would be okay. No much change in the cleaning process would be minimal for manufacturing or for a black color of hair clips. But for brown color, yeah, there is much cleaning required. So it has been increased to 4 hours. Now in case of green color and yellow color, if you compare them, yellow color is requiring 6 hours, because yellow is something you need a proper clean setup. If there is some residual of different color, this yellow color would be ruined, properly ruined. That is why it is taking 6 hours per run. This per run terminology is very much important. That is how we need to, while calculating the changeover time, we need to multiply this by the production run and setup time per run. I hope this is clear now. Revati, please give thumbs up if it is clear now. Okay, Roshni asking for why incentives added to indirect labor. Very much important point, because students may get confused here. Let's see here. What was the information we had? Oh, sorry. Hold on. Look. Indirect labor was here. Fine. Next expense was labor incentive. Here it is not clear whether this labor incentive for direct labor or indirect labor. Here it is not much clear. So you would be saying, ma'am, why, where to add this labor incentive, whether in direct labor or indirect labor? So this confusion has been cleared out in this question in later paras. Let's see where. Here. Incentives to be allocated at the rate 40% of labor expenses, both direct and indirect. It is already clearly mentioned in the question. I have not assumed this. It is already mentioned in the question. I hope, Roshni, you are clear regarding why incentive added to indirect labor. Revati, yes ma'am, now understood cause of the example you gave. Okay, fine. I think everybody is clear regarding this physical changeover item, why, how it was calculated, why production run was multiplied by the setup time. I hope example I gave was very much clear. Let's move on. Roshni, you can also give a thumbs up if you are clear regarding this incentive portion, why it was added to the indirect labor. Okay, fine. Now, what information we had in this slide is already we have calculated here. Fine, let's move on to the next slide. Another amount spent on computer system of 20 lakh fine is for maintenance of documents relating to production runs. Documents relating to production runs means how many times the production is running, you are maintaining a separate documents. Okay. And Okay, this computer system was used for two different tasks. One was maintenance of documents relating to production run. Second, record keeping of the 4 products. Okay, fine. Next, what information we have now? In aggregate, okay, approximate 80% of the amount expend is involved in the production run activity. Okay, let's bifurcate this information here. Computer system expense we have is the 20 lakh. For and breakup is 80%. 80% comes to 60 lakh. Now 60 lakh expense is used for maintenance of documents relating to production runs. Now don't get confused here. Meaning of this line is, I hope you already cleared the meaning, you already cleared about the meaning, but I'll tell you how many times the production is running, the documents are maintained separately. How many was the number of production runs? Let's see. It was 300 here. So this 16 lakh would be divided by 300 number of production runs. Which comes to 16 lakh divided by 300, 5,333.33 per production run. Next information. And approx 20% is used to keep records of the product in 4 parts. How many products we have? 4 products. So how many records you are maintaining? 4 parts. Every single records for a one product you are maintaining at a separate place. Means your records are maintaining 4 different parts. So we would be dividing the remaining 20%, which comes to 4 lakh divided by 4 parts, 1 lakh. Okay. Next information. I hope this para regarding computer system is clear to all. Let's see. Clear. Dhanlakshmi is asking, what if anything is not mentioned separately for indirect labor? What if anything is not mentioned? Yeah, okay. Shall we give an assumption that it is taken for only direct labor? Yeah, in case anything is not written, you can assume, solve it, but put a note at the end that yes, you have solved this question assuming this. But one thing I'll tell you in this particular question, look, here it is written labor incentive, and all the information given is for indirect expenses. Even if you want to assume this labor incentive for direct expenses, but it is better to assume that this labor incentive is related to indirect expenses, indirect labor, because all other information are indirect. So it is better to assume it is related to indirect if no information is given. Though you can also assume direct because it is not mentioned clearly here. I hope this is clear. Hello, Dhanlakshmi, I hope this is clear, beta. Yeah. Okay, next. We have done up to computer system. What next expense we have now? Other overhead expense, that is machinery depreciation, okay. Machine maintenance, okay. Energy for machinery, okay, are incurred to supply machine capacity to produce all the hair clips. Here, in bracket, major information given, practical capability of 20,000 hours. Machine capacity is, maximum machine capacity is 20,000 hours. Do we have any other information regarding cost drive? Let's see in the next slide. Yes. We have what we have? Machine hours per unit. We have machine hours per unit. For brown color, 0.1. For black, 0.1. For yellow, 0.1. For green, 0.1. Total 20,000. How this 20,000 came? It is only 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Then how this 20,000 came? This information of hours is given per unit. Per unit. So you need to multiply this by units. And what do we get? Its breakup would be 10,000, 8,000, 1,800 and 200. Total is 20,000. I hope this information is clear how this 20,000 came. Yeah, very good. Roshni, per unit is given. Yeah, very good. Very good observation. Dhanlakshmi, thanks ma'am. Very minute things are in constant. Yeah, definitely. Look, this question is very simple, but you need to focus on the language, because we get confused what is written and we solve it assuming this. But somehow information is already there. So don't assume when the information is already there. Assumption is can be only made when information is not clear, but when it is clear and you are assuming, so you will not get any mark. Okay, let's continue. Now we have understood how this 20,000 has been calculated. So what we will do, we were on this machinery depreciation. What was the amount for machinery depreciation? It was in the previous slide. Okay, 16, 8 and 4. 16 lakh, 8 lakh, 4 lakh. This is for depreciation. This is for maintenance. And this is for energy. How this will be divided? This will be divided by 20,000. All these figures will be divided by 20,000 because it is common for all. 80, 40, 20. I think up to this everyone is clear, because this was the main portion of this question, how to calculate the cost driver rate. This was the most important portion of this question. Ma'am, give a short glimpse once again. Yeah, we will give you. First solve this question wholly, then we will review or go through this question once again. First solve this fully. Okay, this was the question. Look, here is the slide. We have already calculated this portion. 56 lakh was there. Yeah, 56 was there. Indirect labor plus 40% for incentive. 50%, 40%. We have already calculated all these. 9,333, 2129, 1,40,000. Let's check. 9,333, 2129, 1,40,000. This is checked. Okay. Next, computer system was 20 lakh. Okay. Division was 80%, 20%. Fine. Cost driver rate are 5,333 and 1 lakh. Let's check. Have we calculated it correctly? 5,333 and 1 lakh. Yeah, correct. Next, depreciation 16 lakh, maintenance 8 lakh, energy 4 lakh, and the rates we have is 80, 40 and 20. Have we calculated this correctly? 80, 40, 20? Yes, correct. So up to this, we are through. What is the next step? 1052 set of hours we have already calculated. So whatever I am calculating, you need while while you are attempting the question in the exam hall, don't just calculate in a rough paper. You need to do every working note in the main sheet. Like this set of hours, you just not calculate it on the question paper. You need to actually write it down in the answer sheet with the mark, with the note where it has been used. I hope up to this sheet everything is clear. Give a thumbs up if everything is clear. Dhanlakshmi, what do you think within how much time we should solve this question? You can give us an average. Look, I know this question is very lengthy, but this question have been given in RTP so that you practice each and every concept. Each and every concept of ABC is covered here. So this question is only for practice purpose. But once you solve this kind of question, you are able to solve it so quickly in the future only after you will practice it at home. And I am going through this question so slowly because so that you are able to solve it quickly in future. That's why we are practicing it in so slow manner. I hope you are getting it. And about the time, that time you can yourself calculate after after I have discussed this question in so deeply manner. You yourself solve this question separately without going through the answer and then check what time you take. Then tell us. Then we can also know how much time you take to solve. Yeah, I think everything is clear. Revati, Vanya, Sandeep, Roshni, Sneha, Dhanlakshmi, Harish. Yeah, Harish, we will give you a glimpse again. Okay. Next. What is the next step you usually do in the exam after solving the cost driver rate? Now you need to find out the actual profits. For that, you need to draw the activity-based costing graph or table, whatever you can say, where you will allocate all the cost rate, even whether it is a direct cost or an indirect cost, to different products, and then find out the actual profit. Okay. Quantity. I think we have, wait, open this PPT once again. Yeah. And I think from for question we can see from here. I'll switch it so that you are able to see the question and solution together. Yeah, here we have the question part and here we will solve the question. Sales figure. Regarding the quantity we have taken from this slide. We have the unit portion. I hope both the slides are visible to all. Uh, in one slide I have opened the question and in second slide I have opened the answer sheet. Pooja asking for what about the remaining 60% incentive? I think Pooja, you are still confused. It is not the remaining, but actually the 40% was allocated, not what I can say, for the labor expenses, they are getting for 100 rupees labor expense, they are getting 40 rupees on incentive. Okay, so there is no 60 rupees here. Okay, I think this is clear now. For 100 rupees, they are getting 40% incentive, whether direct or indirect. So there is no 60%. I think this is clear now. Pooja, give a thumbs up. Now, regarding that 40%, we will come to know here. That 40% was for both labors, direct and indirect both. We have already treated indirect labor. Now, what about the remaining 40% which was on direct labor? It would come here. Let's see. It would come here. I think this is clear now. Because incentive was on both direct and indirect. Indirect we have already treated. Here we are treating direct labor. I think this is clear now. Let's put the figures. Quantity from here we have taken from the question 1,80,000, 18,000, 2,000. This is done. Okay, 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 okay. Sales figure, I'll put one figure, and you already have the solution, so we will not putting every figures here. We will multiply this. Okay, we have the selling price here, so we will multiply this by 150. This into 150. This into 150. This into 155. Into, we would be multiplying all these figures, 2000 into 165. I think this is clear. Next step, material cost. We have this information again here. 50, 50, 52, 55. Multiply by 50, multiply by 50, multiply by 52, multiply by 55. Next, direct labor. Where are the direct labor? Well, you already have the sales figure here. You can also put the figures from here directly. Sales figure, yeah, fine. Material cost, fine. Direct labor, you can put from here. 20 lakh, 60 lakh, 3.6 lakh, and then 40,000. So all the figures you can put from here. Now the overhead. Overhead would be we would be taking care of in the next level. First, we are treating the direct expenses. So material cost is done, direct labor is done. Direct labor, now the incentive portion 40%. So this into 40%, 8 lakh would be coming here. Fine. This into 40%. This into 40%. Don't get confused. I will show you the next slide where all the figures have already been put on. 40%. Okay. I think this is clear up to this point. Come to next slide. We will see the figures. Actually, what we have written here is actually clearly put on in the next slide so that you don't get confused. Here, as you can see, this units we already had put on. Then the sales figure we have taken from here. Fine. 2790, 330, 2790, 330. Then the material cost 50, 40, 936, 50, 40, 936. All these figures were given in the question already. Okay. Direct labors 2016, 360, 2016, 360, and these were the 40%. I hope now everything related to the incentive portion has been covered and clear to all of you. Let's see. Pooja gives, yeah, fine, clear, ma'am, thank you. Okay. Sales minus material cost minus direct labor minus this, and you get these figures. Okay. Are these a profit? No. Still we have the overhead portion or the indirect portion expenses we need to deduct from these profits figures, gross profit figures. Next. Now, this we cost driver rate we already have calculated. Where? Let's see. Yeah. This thing we already have calculated. We just need to put these figures in ABC costing sheet. Now, indirect labor and incentive 50% which was based on production rate. What was the rate we calculated? It was 9,333.33. 9,333.33. So for every 0.33, 9,333.33, 9,333.33. And what are the production run for each of the clips? It would get multiplied by the number of production run. What are the production runs? Let's see in the question. It is given here. 100, 100, 76, 24. 100, 100, 76, 24. You just need to use the calculator and apply the figures over here. Next. 40% which was based on setup hours. What was the rate, cost driver rate we calculated? It was here. For 40%, it was 2129.28. 2129.28. 2129.28. You need to multiply it by the setup hours. How many was the setup hours? We calculated this here. 400, 100. Let's put over here. 400 into 100. Then 456. And then 96. You need to multiply these figures. Just that's it. 10% which was based on number of parts. What was the rate? It was 1,40,000. 1,40,000 for all. And what was the number of parts? How many parts were there? Only 4. 1, 1, 1, 1. How many products you have? Only 4 products. Into 1, into 1, into 1, into 1. This was the simplest. Now comes the computer system. 80%. What was the rate for the 80% which was based on the production runs? Let's see over here. 5,333.33. So use this rate over here. 5,333. I am solving this faster so you know how to solve in examination hall. You just need to write down all the figures at one go. Then just do the calculations. Main thing was to calculate the cost driver rate, which you have already calculated. You have already understood how it was calculated, and now the task is only to use those figures and calculate the figures. Okay. What was the number of production? We have used it in 50% based on production indirect labor. It was 100, 100, then 76, and then 24. 20% which was based on the number of parts. What was the 20% rate? It was 1 lakh. So 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh into 1, into 1, into 1, into 1. I think up to this all are clear. Yes, clear, most probably. Now, next, there are, yeah, you can see the figures over here, which we had put on. Let's compare. We will compare it from over. Okay, it is not here. Let's compare it from here, previous slide. 9,333 into 3 into 100 into 100 into 76 into 24 into 100 into 100 into 76 into 24. 2129.28 was the rate. Yes, 2129.29 was the rate. Yes, we have multiplied it with 400, 100, 456, 96. 400, 100, 456, 96. Next was 1,40,000. Everything was 1,40,000. Here 140, 140, 140, 140. Next, what we had 5,333.33 was the rate. Yes, it was there. Correct. And what was the number of production runs? 100, 100, 76, 24. 100, 76, 24. And it was 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. Okay, so are there any other expenses left? Yes, they are left. Let's move on. Machine depreciation. What was the rate for machine depreciation? 80. This is the most important part over here. 80, 40 and 20. What was the rate? 80, 40 and 20. 80, 40, 20. 80. This is how you are supposed to do it in the examination so quickly. You just need to put on the figures. Multiply, 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 multiply. Now, how to multiply this figure? Because you calculated this figure on total number of machine hours, which was 20,000, and you have the information of machine hour per unit and number of units. So you are going to multiply these per unit figures with units and hours, units and machine hours. What are those? It is in the question. What unit you have? 1 lakh, 80,000, 18,000 and 2,000. Let's multiply first these figures. 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. 80,000, 80,000, 80,000. 18,000, 18,000, 18,000. Then 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. What is left? Machine hour per unit, because here we have multiplied with the number of units. But what time they are taking per unit? 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. So you need to multiply them by 0.10, 0.10, 0.10. Every figure would be multiplied by 0.10 because they all are taking 0.10 time. You just need to do the calculations and put the figures over here and then calculate the total overhead. Then deduct this B portion from A portion. Then you would be getting the operating income and then calculating the return on sales. You would be dividing this operating income by sales. So you will get the return on sales. So let's move on the next slide. What are the actual figures we have put on over here? As you can see over here, 80, 40, 20 was the rate. 80, 40, 20, 80, 40, 20, 80, 40, 20. What was the machine hour per unit? 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. These all are same. And what was the number of units? Here, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 80, 80, 80, 18, 18, 18, and 2000, 2000, 2000. I think this sheet is now clear to everyone. Then you just need to do the total, and then subtract this figure from the A figure. A was, what was A? A was this one. So you will get the actual operating income and then a return on sales. I think this question is, we are through with this question, and everything is clear about. If you have any query regarding this particular question, you can ask. Otherwise, we will just review and quick review for this question. Very clear, Sandeep. Roshni, but it consumes a lot of time. Yeah, it will consume at first. If you are practicing it for the first time, it will definitely consume. For calculation, yeah, definitely you need to give certain time, but for the calculation of cost, driver rate, you need to use your mind. But how you will use your mind in the examination hall? By practicing these kind of questions. So first practice this kind of question. We have already practiced this question actually. Now you can practice it at your own, how much time you actually take, just ignoring the calculation part, or you can solve it fully. Then take care of how much time and where do you lag and where do you take time more. So practice again from the study material questions also. So only after practicing you are able to solve these questions so quickly in lesser time. So only practicing is the main focus here. Only after practicing, and main important is the language command. You need to command on your language, because here what was the main thing was the language. Only after understanding what the question is requiring, then you can solve the question. So command on language is very much required. And here in these kind of question, students usually do mistakes in calculation also, because yeah, there is so much of calculation involved here. So please don't do, at least calculation part please ignore. Please practice more and more and more and use a calculator so frequently. So don't do the calculation mistake at least, because even after calculating the cost driver rate, you are putting all the figures at the wrong place and doing all the wrong calculation. You are going nowhere. You are not getting full mark even after doing these kind of question, even after practicing these kind of question. You are not getting full mark if you are not, if you don't have any command on your language, and if you are not practicing by solving full-fledged question using calculator. So this is the trick. This, and I'll tell you, this is the trickiest question. Dhalakshmi, ABC is very clear. Roshni, very interesting question. Yeah, definitely very interesting question. Understood, understood. Perfect explanation. I think this question is very much clear to everyone, because we have, I think, around taken almost 1 hour time period for solving this question, and obviously in exam you will not be getting 1 hour for solving this question. You might be getting like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or half an hour max to max for solving this question. So the key is practicing. This is the key and no substitute for that. Okay, now we will just do the okay, why not take a break of around 5 minutes, then we will review or recapitulate this question, and we will move on to the uh, next topic we have in hand. Okay, please relax, breathe, take some water, relax for 5 minutes, then we will recapitulate this question. I think you have taken a quick, freshman to gather all the information in your brain, and we will do just one quick recapitulation of this particular question. Let's start. We will focus mainly on the main points, which was the driver rate, and yeah. There was a company which is manufacturing hair clips, brown, black, yellow, and green. So there are 4 products. We have sales, material, labor, overhead here given is a 3 times. 3 times of direct labor. So obviously this sheet given is the traditional costing method that the company is following actually. Then we have from here, as we can see, the maximum return is giving the green hair clips, but the actual income from this green hair clip is only 60,000, which is the lowest. Now the company, as the managing director, is proposing to introduce the ABC system for the allocation of indirect expenses. So he has provided all the indirect expenses along with certain other expenses, which was the labor incentive. The focus point was on labor incentive, which here any information regarding direct and indirect labor is not mentioned. So this incentive may be on direct labor or indirect labor. So we will check in the next para if there is any information which we actually had. Direct and indirect labor incentive to be allocated at the rate 40% for both direct and indirect labor. So now we have the information that those incentive, this one was for direct and indirect both. The next important thing we had was the allocation of the indirect expenses. Quickly recap. Indirect expenses was 40 lakh. Incentive 40% comes to 16 lakh. Now their breakup given is in this para. Half of indirect labor, which is 50%, is involved in handling production runs. So how much was the total production runs? Was 300. So we would be dividing this 28 lakh by 300 production run. Next information we had was the 40%, which comes to 22.40 lakh. It would be divided by what? The base was physical changeover. What is the meaning of physical changeover? Like for production a particular color of hair clip and going to the different color hair clip, we need to clean up the setup and then put in the dye of desired color. So it takes time definitely. So this time required is the physical changeover time, which includes the setup time and how many times the company is setting up, means the how many times the company is running the production. So the total physical changeover means the production run and the setup time together. Okay, this figure we had calculated setup hours from here. This information we have production run, then we have the setup time in hours. We would be multiplying this together to get the actual changeover time per product. Total we had 1052. This we have used for the division here. 10 was the remaining 10%. 10% was 5.6 lakh, which was spent for maintaining records of the products in 4 parts. So we have 4 products, means we are maintaining the records in 4 parts. So it would be divided by 4, which comes to 1,40,000. Next indirect expense was the computer system of 20 lakh. It was used for maintenance of documents relating to production run. Documents relating to production means how many times the production is running, the documents are maintained separately. So if there are 300 production run in total, so documents are maintained in 300 different records. So it would be divided by 300 production run. for the percentage this computer system is used for, which is 80%. 80% was used for production run activity. So 80% of 20 lakh comes to 60 lakh, divided by 300 production runs comes to 5333. Now the remaining 20%, this remaining 20% was used for maintaining the record of the product in 4 parts. So we have 4 products, we are maintaining the records in 4 parts. So the 20% would be divided by 4, comes to 1 lakh. Now we have the remaining indirect expenses: machinery depreciation, machinery maintenance, and energy for machinery. And the base for these expenses was the maximum machine capacity, which is given here, 20,000. How 20,000 hours were calculated? Here, machine hours per unit 20,000. And how this 20,000 came? Because we have the information of per unit machine hour was 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. This obviously not comes to 20,000. How it is calculated? It is calculated by dividing the number of units. 1 lakh into 0.1, 80,000 into 0.1, 18,000 into 0.1, and 2,000 into 0.1, which comes to 20,000. So this up to this is clear. So we have divided each and every expenses relating to the depreciation, maintenance, and energy by 20,000, which came to 80, 40, and 20. So these were the cost driver rates we had calculated. Sorry. Figures we have already put here. Sales figure. These figures we have, hold on. These figures we have put from here: sales figure, material figure, direct labor, 150, 50, 20. 150, 50, 20. All the simultaneous figures we have put from the question only. Then the incentive portion, which was given as 40% on direct and indirect labor. Indirect labor we had already treated. Now the remaining 40% on the direct labor we would be treating here only. 40% of direct labor, 20 lakh into 40%, 8 lakh. Simultaneously, we would be doing all the remaining calculations of other products, and balance would be this balance profit, not the actual profit. Actual profit we would be getting only after deducting the overhead, total overhead. How the total overhead was calculated? We calculated already the per unit driver rate. We already calculated the driver rate. We just need to put this figure in. First you need to draft the actual table, what figures you need to put on, what data you need to put on. So you would be first writing down the base data, then put on the figures. I think this area was already clear. This was not requiring much, you could have solved this very in simple form. The main point for calculation was in this portion: machine depreciation, maintenance, and energy. Rate was 80, 40, 20. How much time was per unit was how much machine hour per unit was taking was 0.1 for each and every product. So we have put on over here 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Then we have multiplied it by the units, number of units, because the information given was per unit. So obviously for calculating the total expenses, we need to multiply this by total units they are having for different products. So we have multiply all these figures by their number of units, and then we have found out the figures, all the expenses. Then the overhead, total overhead, then the operating income. Then we have calculated the return on sales. Now the most important thing, the analysis part, which was actually not required in this question, but you can do for your own benefit. As you can, first let me open the traditional slide. I think everybody can see both the sheets. Give me just one thumbs up. Dhanlakshmi, in this question, there is no significance for premium of hair clips information. Yeah, as if actually this information was already clarified in future, so that's why it was not required to be calculated by you. Just because the information was there, but in case the information was missing, let's see. I'll let you know how to use that figure, how to use that data in case some information is missing. Okay. Now, Dhanlakshmi, yeah. Everybody please mind what Dhanlakshmi is actually asking. Here the information regarding the premium amount is given. Green hair clips was introduced at 10% premium in selling price. What selling price? Here we don't know. In this information we don't know the selling price. Yellow was having premium of 10 divided by 3% premium. In this question, actual selling price is already given in later data. That's why this information was not required. But what if the information regarding the actual selling price, which is actually given in this question later on, is not given? Say selling price, base selling price, just base selling price is given of 150. Base selling price, that is of brown or black. Selling price. What if only this much information is given and no other information regarding yellow clip and green clip is given in later paras? How in that case this para would be useful? In that case only this para is useful if no other information was given later on. No other information was affirmed thereon. How you would be calculating this then? In that case, green clips selling price would be, what are the premium? 10%. 150 plus 10%. Green color selling price would be 165. Okay. And in case of yellow, what is the premium? 10 divided by 3%, which comes to around 3.33333%. So it would be 150 plus 3.33333%, which comes to 155. And this was the same figure given in the question in later paras. Right? I think now you are clear why this para was not useful. Just because in later paras the information was already utilized in later paras. That's why you need not to apply any mind for this particular para. But just in case no information was given later on, in that case you would have been applied this para just using single selling price of 150. You can check it yourself. Look, brown 150, black 150, yellow 155 and green is 165. So this was already taken care of. That's why you did not use that para. Otherwise you would have been using that para. Okay? Good question by the way. Fine. Okay, any other query? Revati, why 40% incentive on indirect labor not deducted? Beta, it was already considered. It was already considered, na? 40% incentive on indirect labor. Look over here. Over here, look. It was already considered. That's why it was not taken care of separately. Because it was already taken care of here. Roshni, the premium is already included in the current amount. Yeah. That is why we did not calculate it separately. Because it was already given. In this question, if you analyze from a different angle, you could have sense like certain information was already taken care of in future paras. In this separate particular question, certain areas was already taken care of, like in the case of incentive, which was not clear at that time, it was cleared out in next paras. Like this case of selling price, this was already taken care of in future paras. So this question is giving you a just in case certain figures are missing, certain information is given missing, how you are going to taken care of, that time you need to apply your mind in case of missing figure. But this was actually, I would say, simplest question. Just you need to focus on the content, what the language is asking, what the language is providing information. This was the main area of this particular question. You need to have the command on the language, what the question is saying and what the question is asking. That is the main important thing in this question. Okay, I was on the comparison of this traditional costing and ABC costing. You can see from over here, where is the traditional costing? Here, this was the traditional costing, and after ABC, we have calculated the return and the sales. From here, as you can see, Brown is having income of 32 lakh, and here Brown, as per the traditional, it is having income of 20 lakh. Black is having 16 lakh, and here Black is having 27 lakh. Yellow is having actual loss of 12 lakh, which was having profit in traditional format. Green was having profit of 60,000 in traditional format, but in ABC it is having 6,60,000 loss. And if we consider the percentage of return, green is having maximum loss of return, which is 200%, which was the highest return in traditional. If you compare, in decision making things, you need to consider these kind. You need to see from the you need to see overall how the look, your exam question may not be requiring you to answer or analyze these kind of things, but in practicality you need to consider these kind of things. As you can see from here, this question also, as per traditional costing, one product was giving the highest return and that product was actually giving the highest loss as per ABC. So this is how you do in practical life, which is something, some data may be showing different perspective as per different method, and some data may be showing so much of profit in different method. So this is how you do it. I think time is we don't have much time. We are running out of time. Let's see if we have any queries. I think this question is understood in every sense. Yeah, Black is having the highest return. Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, perfectly. Do we have any queries? So we would just go through certain tips, just frequent tips for an examination. How to revise? First you prepare, then only revise, not just directly jump to the revision portion. First practice, then only revise. And how to do the practice? You have the so much of reference material, you have the institute study material, institute mock test. Please attempt mock test only after practicing. Don't just let's just practice directly to the mock test. No, first practice from the material, RTPs, then attempt mock test, and mock test to be attempted only in the examination manner. Give proper 300 hour in a separate room, closed doors, no disturbance. Take one glass of water or a water bottle with yourself and like you would be attempting questions in the examination hall, that way you apply attempt any subject mock test paper. So the sequence should be practicing from study material or any other reference material you can have. Then you may go to the RTP, and if you want to practice or we uh, please extend time. Yes, actually, look, just by extending time we cannot explain you concept, because for concept you need to take separate sessions for one individual topics. For that we already have live coaching classes. If you have attempted it, you know it very well. In case you have missed it, you always can watch the recorded lectures we have in the BoS knowledge portal and BoS mobile app, sorry. If you don't know about the BoS mobile app, you just need to go to the Play Store. You need to download the BoS mobile app. Then you need to register with your registration number. Then you just need to go to the LCC section. Then there you already have all the information regarding the sessions going on, all the session already held. Regarding this CMA paper, the session have already been done, so you can watch the recorded sessions. Regarding FM, it may be happening in future. It is actually currently running. So if you, even if after watching the sessions you have any query, you can always ask through the email ID. Email ID is let me write it down over here, which where you already have the information regarding email ID. Sir had already given you the information. It is cma-inter@icai.in. You can always send us your query. But one thing, like sir already explained, never just say, ma'am, please explain this question. It is obviously not possible to explain through writing something. If you want to, if you want certain explanation, you can give your mobile number along with registration number. We will try to call you and explain you. And but first try to solve it yourself. Then, if you have any particular just like in this case of activity based costing, you unable to understand certain para which was relating to the indirect expenses, you could have asked and give your mobile number. We will try to call you and explain you, but first solve it yourself, then only ask for certain explanation, because if you don't solve it yourself, you are unable to solve it in future even after understanding from us. So if only you are always able to solve it yourself, only if you solve it at home, then in examination. But after solving, if you are unable to solve, then you are free to call. So you have two means of asking queries from us. One is the email ID cma-inter@ici.in. Second source is through BoS mobile app. There is section Ask Your Query. From there, because there are very known faces which are asking through Ask Your Query section to us, and we are trying to reply them. So there are two options for your query. Regarding Revati, we will try to answer you in future if possible about our CA journey. Lakshmi, if you could not get your query resolved, please mail us. Email ID I have given you. Please mail us on that email ID your query. We will try to solve or contact you through that. Krishna, ma'am, ABC is to be considered now, chahe profit ho ya loss, because it's an actual data. Yeah, definitely it will be helpful. Yeah, definitely it is. ABC is obviously followed for the decision making purpose. Like in this question you saw, traditional costing was giving the profitable results for green color hair clips, but in actual that was the only loss making hair clip. So it is very beneficial for a company to decide for a future whether we should go on with that particular hair clip or not. Though they are very demanding, but it is not profitable, then why we would be continuing? So okay, while writing a theory question or practicing theory question, please first understand the concept behind what is written. You may even underline or highlight a particular major points which you would be practicing or revising in future, because obviously you don't have time to go through each and every line for theory portion while revising just the day before examination. So you just highlight a certain terminology so that you write or use that terminology in examination hall. But yeah, fine, you may use your own language, but please use that particular terminology which you had highlighted. So it is very beneficial for future while writing in your examination. Yeah, we have already given some summary to each and every chapters. Please go through this, but only after going through the main content of the material you refer the summary portion for revision. Practice, try to practice each and every question given in the study material, because you never know from where question can come from, you never know. So please try to practice each and every question given in the study material. And regarding what to do in examination, what not to do, yeah, you already know you have 50 minutes time given before getting the answer sheet for writing. In 15 minutes, what you are supposed to do, you can decide what question you would be writing, because there is some internal choice. So please decide in those 15 minutes only, because later on you don't have time. First read the question. Just like in this ABC, I went through the data, what is given, then I started calculating the figures. So first go to what the data is given actually, then start reading the content, main content, and then writing the points, sub points. First go through this while solving the question paper. Try to solve the numerical question first, because most of the students ask, can we start writing the theory questions first? So it is suggested not to start with the theory question but with the practical question, because it gives a good impression if you start with a good question, like you are 100% sure that yeah, I know, and I might get full marks in this question, so I would be attempting this question first. So please try to attempt only that question first which you are 100% sure. Later on you may try the different question, and the theory question you put only for the end time, when you don't have much time, like you have 10 minutes and you still have one practical question to be attempted which you are not sure of. So in that case you can try for the theory question. And revise your question after attempting, because calculation mistake usually students do. And for just by calculation mistake, even everything is correct, but just because you have calculated it incorrectly, you might lose certain marks. So it doesn't matter, even your concepts are clear, you have solved the question properly, but your calculation is mistaken, so you are getting some deductions for your marks. I think this is fine. Yeah, blank page you should not be leaving, and even if you are spacing certain pages for to be used in later time, so and you could not use that pages, then please cross it down and put certain note that please turn over, something like that, so that examiner is known that yeah, you have attempted more questions in the next pages. Any query if we have? Roshni, can we solve questions on our own, or do we need to follow suggested answers? Look, suggested answers are only for your, where you have mistaken. You can know where you have mistaken, where you have, how to write the solution in the examination. These are for your reference purpose only. So it doesn't matter if you don't write in the suggested answer manner, but the answer should be correct. That is the main focus point. Answer should be correct. It doesn't matter any method or any layout you use. It doesn't matter. Just Just don't do the rough work. You are calculating some figures and do it in the rough figures. No, use it as a working note. Use it as a working note. Revati, thank you. Okay, beta. Krishna, ma'am, is it important manner which is given in module the practice manner? Because I did as per my way, but I didn't get. Okay, I see a song, but not as per module like in marginal costing. Shall we write question number 1A, then do I continue with 1B? Well, yeah, fine. You can. It's really preferable if you do the question in sequence. It is really preferable. But if you think 1B is more your favorite, or you would catch more marks in 1B, then yes, you can start with 1B. I got 10 marks extra in result sheet compared to certified. How it was? Look, beta, examination portion we cannot comment on. We can just suggest you regarding your preparation and revision part. I think, okay, Krishna was asking, I did the question as per the practice manual, but still didn't get it. Look, we can only suggest you. There might be certain other reasons for your marks reduction. We cannot comment on. We just suggest you to practice and present as per the method given in the study material or the practice. Even you can even practice from the old course practice manual. If you think you are running out of practice questions, you can always refer old practice manual, old course practice manual. So I think we have covered all your queries, and yeah, we have covered all your queries, and we request you to do all the practice before revision, then only attempt the mock test and come with the flying colors. So we wish you, even I am wishing on behalf of Sengupta sir, he is not present here, but I am wishing on behalf of him also, to all the best to everyone, and best of luck.